So I think this is the kind of solutions which we sort of in situ design proposal which we try to do. There were, I think, I don't know, somebody from UAC here, maybe 15 to 20 such proposals were made. Unfortunately, none of them have seen or been taken up by any authority so far. Now, I go to a project which is National Institute of Immunology. Now, I hope some people have seen that, but this is for the scientific institute, and the housing is for professors, scholars, etc. And I'm very lucky that Professor or Dr. Talwar sort of gave me a fairly free hand and to work out a design. But again, the basic design proposal based on small courtyards, interlinked courtyard, and I'm happy to say they are impeccably managed, so to speak. So the idea of courtyard which run through the scheme, but I'm happy to show one little image which I just saw the other day. Professor Chisti has been working on it in Jhabala's school, that the idea of courtyard, let's say, to keep the heat and dust, I think the famous novel of Mr. Jhabala, perhaps heat and dust, maybe that might have been in his mind, I like to imagine. So let's say this is sort of veranda which encloses it. So I think this is the kind of thing. Again, I like to show a bit of Jhabala's using stone very early, because I began to use stone much later, and this is two of his schools, just seen in the panel outside, and again, sort of his proposition to use natural materials, greenery, etc., became a kind of a part of his thing. His early works, I did not know most of his work, I must admit that, but only through sketches and as a professor. Now I'm just going to show very quickly a university project, and which we just finished in Rohtak. But before that, I want to show the university town in Europe, Bologna in Italy. I hope some of you know about it. I could have shown Oxford or Cambridge, but let's say the precedence of how old universities helped me to formulate the design of it. This is actually Google image, and I won't go into the detail, but this is a university for creative arts. It has a school of fashion, film institute. So each ones are so quadrangular. In the middle area is a common ground, School of Urban Design and Planning, Fine Arts School. So this is the sort of, sorry, I think something is going on. I think it's running faster than I can. I think I need some help. I think I have to go back. I think the image is. Yes, just getting back to the. Now, in this one, I put myself on no problem that 13 to 15% of all the power generated would be by photovoltaic panels. And let's say, so it's a combination or fusion of newer technologies and the passive energy technology system which one has learned, let's say, while going around various historic monuments. And the spaces within the buildings, again, sort of in a way, but perhaps very much influenced, I like to imagine, from places like Fatehpur Sikri. You can see an ascending stages which go up, again, maybe symbolic concerns from perhaps Sanchi and Chakra, the symbol of the Buddhist symbol of rightful living. Some of these sort of ideas have come to seep into the architecture. So let's say the tradition has a very important part, even in creating very innovative works. because you may not directly copy something as such, but let's say there is something, the influence or inspiration, which is what is a very important part of thinking. And you can see this is from the balcony, the kind of spaces which are within it. And we created this sort of sunken seminar spaces for students who get together, meet with each other, and common spaces which I think is beginning to already function better than what I had imagined. These are the inner spaces, sort of interlinked courtyard of various kinds, steps going up to the fashion designs, amphitheater on the roof. This is the plan of it. Won't go into the details, but you can see the 4 different institutes and the common central area. So I think, again, I think there is something I can't help. I think we need another help. I think maybe it's a very good way to go very fast. So some jumbling up, it makes it maybe how the mind works, perhaps. Okay, I think, yes, I think I start. This is for the library for the Indian Parliament. I will start one project in between, but doesn't matter. Now, this was also a very challenging project. How to build next to Lutyens and Baker, and how, as you know, Lutyens had said at one time he wanted to build something that would show what he called superiority of Western art, science, and culture in India. He was very much contested by many British historians, including Heron, who said it should be built on a different line and not in such a manner. But nevertheless, when I came, when this project, let's say, so my part of the work was how to harmonize a building with it and at the same time be very different. And I think many of you may have the brochure, so you can read through that. I won't get into the nitty-gritty details of it, but the roof of the Parliament Library is kept below, the general roof, below the pediment of the, let's say, the library, before the column, and we really designed it as a kind of a landscape roof structure. But the kind of spaces which I had in mind was very much what I have observed in, let's say, this case, Ronaldpur Temple or Angkor Wat, where the central building is built around a series of smaller courtyards all around it. So this is the model, perhaps a mandala in a way, but the small domes which are there on the roof in a way complement the kind of what you see in the roofs, and this is the basic plan of the building. So you can see the challenge. I think, okay, maybe we can do one by one now. Can we go back to, maybe you stay next to me. Okay. So let's say these are the courtyards. Okay, no better than me. Okay, I think next. Okay. Now, this is the, let's say, the roof again, how they populate the light within the library or the various rooms. So the domes are really lifted up. You see again from the Ronaldpur Temple. Which one? Which one? Okay, okay. Next. Anyway, so the point is, okay, so the point is that the idea of using domes which are held on steel, which are built on totally new technologies, but still there are domes which are lifted above, as it used to be done very often, both not only in the Mughal architecture but also in the earlier Rajasthani and Gujarati buildings. I mean, this is four leaves, so to speak, of the central, let's say, glass dome in a way, and you can see the tension wires which are holding up the entire structure. And this is the roof, let's say, the sort of series of domes which go from the top, which complement the domes which are elsewhere on the thing. Unfortunately, the roof garden is now not allowed to be used by even the people there because of security concerns, etc. One project I'd just like to show a little bit. This is Jhabala sketch, but let's say this is a plan. I just tried to see how Jhabala is trying to sort of assimilate some of the values of the dome, stone, structures, and how so these very essential values which may have prompted many of us to think in certain directions. But I must say I have not seen his sketches, but I must show one more project. This is the Lisbon Ismaili Center, and before that I'd like to show the small church in Lisbon. I don't know if anyone has been there. This is the Geronimo church there, which I think was a major inspiration for me, as well as maybe the kind of spaces in Fatehpur Sikri and Indian mosques. You can see a series of courtyards which are built up. The prayer hall of the Jamaat Khana is at the far end, the entrance hall, and the idea of Char Bagh, which we all know, and the structural system, essentially that is expanded in a different manner, perhaps from all the Indian jalis, maybe from Fatehpur Sikri, but this is a structure which is composed of granite and stainless steel. So these are really fledged systems, and probably it was never done before. So I had a lot of problem getting it tested, so to speak, that this was structurally viable, because the granite, which is very strong in compressive strength, and steel in tension, so these were two together built in. This is the inside prayer hall, and you can see the structural systems of dome, which are all prefabricated elements. You can see the kind of light, but I think one of the nicest things about the Indian mosques was the quality of light. Both the Indian temples and churches, they sort of tend to be dark, perhaps to promote some kind of meditation, but the mosques, particularly the Indian mosque and the Iranian mosque, sort of very open to the courtyard. I think it's this sort of fraternity, and also the idea of having, let's say, geometrical symbols, because in Islam, geometry sort of symbolizes the unity of all cosmos in a way. So these are the kind of ideas I was trying to have in a structural language. You can see here the granite and steel fletched together, and this is the structural design of it. So in a way, perhaps you can see the tension stainless steel wires holding up both the granite and structure. And luckily for me, Portugal is also a country, perhaps like India, which has used stone, Spain and Portugal very well throughout its history. And with the new techniques of cutting stones, making it prefabricated, fletching it, or fusing it with steel and stainless steel, etc., could be very, let's say, done with quite easily, and I could sort of experiment with that sort of element. Now, before I say something, I'd just like to very quickly say the idea itself that that the essence of tradition, can this be part of modern architecture? I think there's a question I'm posing to all of you, but this has been at the back of my mind at least. And because we are going through a process where globalization is now taking over. Now there is, let's say, some works, architectural forms worked out anywhere in the world, let's say, hypothetically, in any country which are followed, let's say China, Japan, now in Haryana, somewhere, anywhere. But what sort of validity? The only validity which they have is that they are financially a good consumer's product. But they forget all about certain cultural traditions, local context, and certain other values. And so the point I'm trying to make is, do these values still have a validity? I think we need to discuss it. And so I think this Jhapala Memorial Lecture, I think, and I'd like to suggest to the SPA that considering so many people can attend, that we can discuss some of these values. And this should be maybe made quarterly, because I think I was very surprised, even in Pune they had yearly lectures, but in Delhi, though there are many architects and there's a lot of creative thinking going on, we don't have platforms to discuss with each other what direction we should take, are we going in the right way, how we should have a professional sort of dialogue between us and with concerned persons who come from outside, decision makers. So I think it should be a very good thing. So in the end, I would like to really thank Prinana for taking this thing over her head, and the Jhapala family, and SPA giving a good hand that we take over this sort of thing. Before I finish, just one more word. I think debate is very important at this stage for us. So I think in 10-15 minutes, I don't know how much time I have taken, whatever time, we can have little discussion more than anything else. Perhaps more for housing as well as for public building. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Raj, for taking us from those. Professor, have you now come the subscription? From taking that 1,000 low-cost housing, the change format in Mumbai to the Mohammadpur village in this, the National Institute of Immunology, and finally Lisbon. But I think the most important question he asked all of us at the end is, does that essence of tradition is today relevant? Do we really think that just making a financially viable, I even go beyond saying that financially profitable real estate business and the corporate, does it make sense? And do we have a platform to discuss these issues? And he rightly said, Pune has started this kind of thing. I think SPA will be very happy to be offering that kind of platform. And this platform should be by SPA and other associations, including our alumni association. We will be very happy to be part of that kind of dialogue and platform. And obviously debate is, at this moment, debate is not a very positive thing, but debate is required, including in our own profession. With this, I am opening this for questions, comments, but what I will, because we have about 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, so what I will request you is introduce yourself and be brief. Be brief. I mean, you need mic? Mic, is it mic? So, till then, one could come on the dais and ask that question. Mic is there. Yes, Jagan, please give it to the third row here. उसको पसंद कर दीजिए ना. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Jagan Shah, Director of the National Institute of Health. Mr. Rival, I've not written many books, but the one book that I have written, I've said very complimentary things about the Hall of Nations, which I feel is one of the most important buildings in the country. And the wonderful accident by which it became what it was. I understand it was designed for a different technology. But I don't know if the audience knows the kind of threat there is to a building like the Hall of Nations. I would like to know your thoughts, not only about that building, but about this very important phenomenon that is taking place now, which is in a complete state of ignorance. The state, as well as many other actors, are just blindly considering the destruction of architecture. Yashwant Place and Chanakya Cinema, Yashwant Place might be next. One doesn't know. The Hall of Nations is under threat. We are losing masterpieces of modern architecture literally by the year. What would be your advice to policymakers? How is it education? Should we just make them sit in a classroom and understand architectural history? What can we do about it?
It's a very touchy subject for me at this moment, as you can imagine. You see, it's great pity that the Indian establishment, if I may use the word, is not tuned to architectural concerns or values at all. We have economists, we have perhaps lawyers, we have journalists, and political families perhaps, which form part of establishment. But very few of them, there are few, but hardly anyone who's tuned to the culture of what I would say architectural concerns. This was not always the case. We were a bit lucky in the beginning when we started. I've just mentioned perhaps Pupul Jaikar's name, and maybe one or two other people who sought out young architects. Okay, all right, help us to do something. They knew something about what was modern architecture. But now I think the situation is this, that it's just, I can't see anyone whom you can go to plead. You know, there is a saying in Hindi, Hindustani, bhais ke aage, dana sidana, you know, I mean, you are just, this is the kind of situation we are in, that there's just nobody in position of power who you can look. This is absolute outrage. I mean, can't you see? If they can't see, we can't see. Ram, you have something to say on this subject?
Yeah, Professor.
Yeah, Ram Rahman, architectural photographer. Actually, this is something that we've all been discussing. But just yesterday, if you saw in the Hindustan Times, there was a news report that the Indian Institute of Architects and Council of Architecture, Indian Institute of Engineers, have filed a PIL in the Delhi High Court on the possible destruction of both the Hall of Nations and the Nehru Pavilion in the Trade Fair complex. Earlier I had had a big battle with the so-called renovation of the Rabindra Bhavan, which is another modernist classic from 1961, which my father had designed. We are in a strange situation, I think, in India and particularly in Delhi, because the richness of the modern architecture in this city is quite extraordinary. I think all the work that happened after independence through the generation of my father, Kandinde, J.K. Chowdhury, I mean any number of people, Raj, Ram Sharma, etc., Ranjit Sabiki, I don't know, many are probably sitting here, is actually an incredibly rich history of modernist architecture at one site, and quite unique There are very few cities in the world which have that kind of richness that we do. And it is now slowly being recognized by institutions like the Pompidou Center, like the Museum of Modern Art, a whole team of which has just gone through the Hall of Nations 2 weeks ago during the India Art Fair. I was at a conference of lawyers about 10 days ago, which was on art and law in Delhi, organized by Anand and Anand, who are specialists in copyright law. And what came up at that conference was that an issue like this actually would have to come under copyright law. Artists have got moral rights to their work under the Indian copyright law. So artists like Amarnath Sehgal, whose mural was destroyed in the Vigyan Bhavan when it was being redone, actually won a case against the state, which was fought by Anand and Anand, because they decided that he had moral right, creative right, and no one had the right to destroy that. Now they said that has not been applicable to architecture. Javed Akhtar recently had an amendment made to copyright film songs for music and for the writers of film songs, so that they would get copyright fees. Now what the lawyer said is what has to be done by the architectural community is it has to come together and lobby in Parliament to have an amendment made to the copyright law, so that the moral right for a design is included in the Indian copyright law. And I think since many architects are here, many professionals belonging to institutions, we have to really get together and lobby for that to happen. And it has to happen very fast, because something like this, can happen in an instant. And times have changed. I think, we are not going to get a body of politicians, bureaucrats, etc., who are suddenly going to be re-enlightened. It has to be fought by law.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. I am an architect, Balbir Verma. Mr. Rawal just now mentioned something, भैंस के आगे क्या बीन बजाना, but भैंस को डंडा मारो तो कुछ होता। I know we cannot do that straight away, but danda can be used to make noise. That is what someone just now mentioned, Satyagraha. Or we haven't taken this issue. We have discussed this at INTEC, we have discussed this at UAC, we have discussed it among ourselves in closed room. The court cases also, whenever you file PIL, they want to know who is with you. Are you being selfish? We have to tell them we are not being selfish, but those people are, whatever they are thinking of doing is not good, not only for architecture, but also for the nation. So we as architects have to, I am once again using the word, make lot of noise. And the best way of making noise is not only within the closed room, but outside. Maybe if not, as it has already been informed, all of you have read, the Indian Institute of Architects have already taken this initiative along with the Institute of Engineers. Why don't schools of architecture, this is what I had suggested at the INTEC, that why don't we invite all schools of architecture in the region and have something within next few days, and then send that resolution from there also along with that as supporting thing to the PFL. Maybe those things will work, but we have to make noise outside the halls and make sure that the courts also through the media. And media is receptive these days if you really have people with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, third row.
Yeah, I'm Meena Mani, also an architect. I agree that something needs to be done immediately, which could be by lobbying and getting the schools together. But we've never had any public discussion or discourse when public buildings are built or designed. We don't take the people along with us. The people are left out of any kind of enlightenment, discussion. Their point of view is not taken into account. So I think at the same time we should have a public discourse on architecture and the value of architecture. Somehow get the people of the city involved and make them proud of the architectural heritage that we do have.
Yes,
My name is Arun Nirmani. I am an architect, not doing too much work to Santa. Very fond of Rajawal G. And I know your stature, and particularly you are having come out of DUSC unscathed. Maybe I'm younger to you, much younger. First a brief question. Form follows function. I don't know how many buildings would you be redesigning if you had a chance to do that. But now, few more buildings, maybe that you like to call it an end. But why not create some kind of a vocabulary? Some kind of a vocabulary which guides younger people, which form could be like domes or arches or so many other things which are symbolic of the function. Because to me, arch signifies for a good school building or an educational building and dome. I'm leaving it. I'm not like you. I'll leave it halfway. So some kind of vocabulary, grammar could be left. I know there are people almost of your standard, but knowing your path. Second, I call the word user friendly. Whether I'm in Gurgaon or Delhi or somewhere else, I get lost and then I hit my head. There are no signages anywhere, right? Maybe I tried to say that 3-4 years earlier also. You can't help it, but I would say you have more moral freedom now. That Delhi, the ghastly things what we have anywhere are not going to change it. But maybe on the roads, Delhi could be divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, let's say regions. You already have for TTC, which Sumit Ghosh son, Sumit Ghosh found out. It was 45 years ago, in the time of Prestige Sharma, he had designed 0217. So those zones could have those signages of different colors. Just a different color, and you have to decide. First, second, third, fourth is publicized. And then you know that you are in this area or that area and some signage is there. DLF, I go to Gurgaon, spend thousands of crores of rupees, but the work is much less there. I am stopping here, I got to sign it, but again, would you want to do it? Would you like to do it? There is hope for that, for future generations to follow. And that's much more in that. Maybe I can say with one word, I have designed something, 2 gates for Jamia, which are more popular than buildings inside. It gives you a lot of satisfaction. 35 by 35 by 70. Sorry, I'm like that. Thank you.
More questions? Yes, some student has a question. Can you speak loudly or get it? Introduce yourself.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. I'm a fourth student from Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Architecture, Pune. We just saw the deteriorated conditions of the Sidco Low housing. I have also studied Aranya housing by B.B. Doshi and Artisans Village by Charles Ford in Mumbai. So all the 3 designs have been designed majorly along the vernacular Indian architecture. But what I have seen from these designs is that it has not been able to contain the always progressing, urbanizing Indian people. So where are we lacking? Is it the Indian planning, or like what is the solution to this? Like how do we contain this urbanization through Indian vernacular planning? Like what is the solution for the modern planning that is happening right now in Gurgaon, Delhi, Noida? So what is the solution to that?
One more question? Yeah.
Good evening, sir. My name is Rahul Sabarwal. I'm an architect. My question stems from I'm going back to the subject today, which is essence of tradition. And a big question that comes to us as young architects is how do you handle the
Can
important
you
work
introduce yourself? Please go.
all over again? I'm Rahul Sabharwal. I'm an architect.
On the mic on.
I'm Rahul Sabharwal. I'm a young architect, and I'm going back to the subject today, which is essence of tradition. A big question that comes to our mind every time we are designing is this problem of comfort. With tradition, there were certain ways in which you would live, you would imagine, you would design for people. But comfort has become such a curse word. Nobody wants to live without an air conditioner. Nobody wants to enjoy the outdoors. All of those have now become luxury items. When you're designing, people have questions as, oh, you made a very large space, now how will you air condition it? How will I not sweat? How will I not feel the air? People are getting very contained. With traditional building systems like you just showed today, how do you handle this question of comfort? How do you go back to the Indian tradition and still make sure that it's comfortable to utilize those spaces? That's something that you need to guide us on.
Questions? Sorry, good, please. Yeah.
I think it's very valid. You see what's happening?
Yeah.
You see, the main thing is we are living in times where there's constant change. I mean, it's changed from 5 years to 5 years. I mean, things are happening so fast. Mobile phones, communication systems, etc. So there is a tremendous change in lifestyle everywhere. Now, I think the question which you ask is to be comfortable, to be how to adopt, because I think the social aspects of life are changing also as well. So I think we have to find solutions. I mean, some of the projects which I've shown, particularly housing, etc., we're trying to find a solution. I don't know if they are the ultimate aim. And but what is happening is, let's say, if you're designing a one-room, two-room apartment and 4 families are going to live there, it cannot cope with it. So I think this is the profusion, because there is a tremendous expansion which is going on. And I think we have to find sort of solution from that point of view. That, I mean, we're talking about smart cities, we're talking about all kinds of things, and I think a lot of smart solutions are needed, how to cope with garbage, how to have energies in a different way. But the basic problem still remains that so many people are coming from villages to the city. I think Sheila Dikshit at one time mentioned 5 lakh people are coming every year to Delhi. Now, how can a city cope with this kind of thing? So I think that's another kind of solution. I don't know if I've answered your question. Please. Yes. Yes.
Talking about traditions, I was there in SPA. It was virtually an unwritten tradition for teachers. At SPA, it used to be a tradition when I was there for teachers to tell us maybe 50 times in a year how fortunate we were that Professor Jhabala was not teaching there anymore. I do not know what do the teachers tell the students today, but what is the message that you would like to give teachers of today who are teaching in almost 500 colleges in the country?
Maybe Ram should respond to that because he's devoted all his life